We quilters tend to think patchwork first, quilting second.
Here's a project where we reverse the thinking.
On today's episode, you will learn quick piecing techniques for free motion friendly quilt blocks,
Different methods for getting your quilting design to your quilt top.
and how to select the right batting, threads, and feet for your free motion design. Hi there, welcome to the 3100 series of Love of Quilting. I'm Sarah Gallegos, and if you are a lucky quilter, there's probably somebody in your quilting circle that you can go to for help or for advice or for guidance or even just color direction. And I'm so excited today to have my good friend Denise Schober, who is also an instructor and designer and one of those people for me, on set today.
Always glad to quilt for you too, Sarah, and help you out
Yes.
anytime.
So Denise and I created a really fun mystery quilt that we taught together. It's 2 blocks, and there were several different ways that we can put it together, and we're going to share that quilt with you today.
And I love the 2 blocks, the Carolina Lily and the Log Cabin. Simple blocks, but what they create with that block
Right.
becomes a really different look and a great foundation for quilting.
Absolutely, and that's one of my favorite parts of quilting. You can take something simple and make something really dynamic just by the way that you quilt it, right? Or even the layout. So one of the first options that we have for layout here in different ways of quilting is this purple and yellow quilt that we've made over here. This will show you both of the blocks in the quilt. Again, we've got a Log Cabin and a Carolina Lily, and this is just kind of a basic all-over quilting pattern.
And you talked about color, and the way the color works here is the yellow is opposite on the color wheel from the purple.
Right.
So it works very well, and I love the scrappy Log Cabin.
I do too. And then we're going to show you how to create the Carolina Lily block to start, and then we'll talk about some different options with this particular quilt as well. So here we have the pieces and parts of the Carolina Lily block, and this stems from a whole lot of flying geese and then some simple shapes as well. So to create the flying geese, we use the no waste flying geese method, which
Our favorite.
Yes, we love that. And you start with a larger base fabric or background fabric square, and then place 2 of your flying geese points, smaller squares, right in the corners diagonally away from each other. And now we get to measure and mark. Thank you.
And lots of marking pens, Sarah, but I gave you a gray one because it'll show up nicely on the purple.
Yeah, we'll be able to really see it. And I like a nice fine point too. And what we're marking is 1/4 of an inch from the diagonal center on both sides of the center line, and that's where we're going to stitch. So once you have marked, you're going to stitch on both of those lines, and you end up with this here. Now we can simply cut that in half and press open the triangles.
And pressing to the dark side.
Yes, of course. And you end up with this kind of little heart-shaped design, right?
2 of those.
2 of those, right. Yeah, after you cut it in half and press them. Now we're going to place another of our squares in the center there. And exact same process. We're going to measure and mark 1/4 of an inch from that center diagonal, stitch, and here is what we're left with. Kind of looks like a flying saucer, huh?
Want some scissors?
Yes, please.
There you go.
Now we'll cut that in half, and you can use your rotary cutter and your ruler to cut, or you could use scissors, whichever you prefer. This is all in your seam allowance, so you don't have to be exactly perfect. And then you're going to press those open, and you end up with your flying geese units. Pretty cool, huh? I love that technique. You can trim it down so your seam allowances are perfect. And now we're ready to construct the block in quarters. So you're going to take all of those flying geese units and attach them to just a solid rectangle of the floral print. So this is kind of the main print in the Carolina Lily block. So again, you'll do that with every single one of those. Then you're going to divide them in half, and you're going to take half of that flying geese unit and attach them to another solid square of your print. And the other half, we've kind of turned sideways here and attached to a solid background.
Making a little 4 patch with 2 flying geese units and 2 solid units.
That's right. And then we just place those together and stitch with a 1/4 inch seam, and you've got the quarters of that Carolina Lily. From there, it's as simple as sashing, right?
Add your sashing and you're just about done.
That's right. So a sashing strip in between each of the quarters, and then we've taken a center square. You could fussy cut this as well. I didn't fussy cut on mine, but if you fussy cut a pretty little flower for the center, make another sashing strip, and then you sew that together in thirds, and you've got your completed block.
So here's the completed block
Beautiful.
of the Carolina Lily, and then the Log Cabin block, which is our light and our dark side for the quilting.
That's right. And I've done mine a little bit scrappier on this particular quilt because I've got blues and greens and purples, but they're different. Instead of the same color in each of the sides of the log cabin, like is how you've done that on yours here.
Right, so I did the 2 colors the same for 2 of the rows, and the solids are all the same. And this block has a large amount of solid space in the center so that we have a great quilting foundation.
Yes, that's where the fun part comes in, right? We get to play with different quilting designs and different ways to get those quilting designs to the fabric, right?
So do you have any books or magazines or anything, Sarah, at home?
I do.
So let me show you how to take your pattern, put it on some paper, or use a stencil to create your designs.
Okay.